The conversion of the Vikings from their ancient Norse gods Odin, Thor, and Freya to Christianity is one of the most dramatic cultural shifts in history. It wasn't a sudden light bulb moment, but rather a slow, strategic, and often violent process that took about 300 years, roughly 800 AD, to 1100 AD. Here is the story of how the hammer of Thor was gradually replaced by the cross of Christ from Valhalla to the Vatican. The Viking conversion. 1. The first contact. Raiders and monks. The story begins with blood. When Vikings first raided places like Lindisfarne in 793 AD, they saw Christians as easy targets. Monasteries were full of gold and lacked armed guards. Asterisk, the power test. At first, Vikings thought the Christian god was weak because he didn't protect his followers from Viking axes. Asterisk exposure. However, as Vikings settled and captured lands like England, Ireland, and France, they lived alongside Christians. They saw the organized structure of the church and the literacy of the monks, which began to intrigue them. 2. Trade. And the prime-signing Vikings were as much traders as they were raiders. Christian merchants in Europe were often hesitant to trade with pagans. Asterisk, economic advantage. To solve this, many Vikings underwent a ceremony called prime signing. They would receive the sign of the cross without being fully baptized. This allowed them to interact in Christian markets while still keeping their Norse gods. Asterisk, a new tool. Vikings were practical. They didn't see religion as an exclusive club. Many thought, I'll pray to Thor for strength in battle, but I'll pray to the Christian God for success in trade. 3. The king's ambition. Religion as a political weapon. The biggest push for Christianity didn't come from priests, but from Viking kings. Leaders like Harald Bluetooth, Denmark, and Olaf Tryggvason, Norway, realized that Christianity was a powerful tool for building a kingdom. Asterisk centralization. The Norse religion was decentralized. Anyone could sacrifice to the gods. Christianity, however, taught that God is the head of the church, and the king is God's representative on earth. This gave kings a divine right to rule. Asterisk diplomacy. By becoming Christian, Viking kings could make alliances with powerful European empires like the Holy Roman Empire and stop being seen as barbarians. 4. The legend of Harald Bluetooth. A famous legend says that a priest named Papa challenged King Harald Bluetooth to prove the Christian god's power. Papa allegedly held a red-hot iron bar in his bare hands and remained unburned. Impressed by this miracle, Harald declared the Danes Christian. He later erected the Jelling Stones, which are often called Denmark's birth certificate, proclaiming he had made the Danes Christian. 5. Forced conversion and resistance. It wasn't always peaceful. In Norway, King Olaf Tryggvason was known for his brutality. He gave his subjects a simple choice: be baptized or be executed. Asterisk, he destroyed pagan shrines and statues of Thor. Asterisk, he invited pagan leaders to feasts and then trapped them, forcing them to convert. This created deep resentment, but it effectively broke the back of organized paganism. 6. The final blend, syncretism. The transition was messy. For centuries, Vikings practiced a hybrid religion. Asterisk archaeologists have found soapstone molds that could cast both Thor's hammers and Christian crosses at the same time. Asterisk Vikings began to see Jesus not as a suffering servant, but as a strong warrior king who defeated Ditha. Concept they could finally respect. Why it stuck. The long-term impact factor reason social status. Christianity was seen as civilized and sophisticated. Unity had brought the divided Viking tribes under one legal and moral code. Stability. It ended the era of constant raiding, turning Vikings into European still knights and farmers. Conclusion. By the year 1100, the Viking Age was effectively over. The fierce Northmen who once terrified Europe were now building stone cathedrals and going on crusades. They didn't stop being brave or adventurous. They just changed who they were fighting for. The cross had won, not by destroying the Vikings, but by absorbing them. Would you like me to tell you the story of a specific Viking leader, like Harold Bluetooth or Leif Erikson?